All right, ladies and gentlemen, I am back with a beautiful, it's a ceramic but copper toned bowl from Accent Decor. This is a part of one of their new lines that has come out, and I think that it is really fun with these peach tones, and it's a great size and shape for any kind of maybe centerpiece event work that you might be doing, or just even daily work that's going out the door. So I have got that here, along with mechanics that I'm using for this arrangement is chicken wire. So what I love about chicken wire is that it is something that can be reused. Whenever I am getting an arrangement started sometimes, I want to maybe practice like tone on tones, or maybe I have access, maybe it's like a practice day or something. Something that I like to do to decide what elements I'm going to use is to just start putting one of each thing in the arrangement and seeing if they are friends. And so that is what I did with this arrangement today. I feel like there's two kind of different ways of thinking through making an arrangement, some for inspiration and creative play. The things that I learn whenever I'm doing this creative exercise are things that I can apply into the products that I am creating for my business. So I'm experimenting with the placement patterns on the flowers. I'm experimenting with the different shapes, sizes, colors, and textures of the elements that I'm working with, and learning about new varieties and trying new combinations of things that then I can take note of the shape of the finished arrangement, the size of the finished arrangement, the texture, all of those things that I just mentioned, because this arrangement is going to become an element in an event design. And so during these creative times, I am just playing, just enjoying the flowers, and then what I take and what I learn from that can help inform a product that I decide to offer in my product line for the following season. And that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to use a straw flower and a, the celosia flower and the hydrangea, not necessarily, but it means that I want to make sure that I have this gestural piece in whatever color that's appropriate, and this is the general shape of it that I'm working with, and things like that, so that it makes it easy to replicate quickly whenever you are in the process of getting a lot of products out your door. So you can kind of think through the difference between those two things. Maybe you've seen some other videos that I've made. Know that this is one where we're kind of like practicing creative play, and I'm introducing you to my flower friends. So these are some, this is geranium, scented geranium foliage. This is celosia. This is hydrangea. This is lisianthus, and this is straw flower. So have little scabios at the top, which you might be familiar with, in addition to all of these pretty roses that we're working with. I want this arrangement, it's important to start out with a goal, and I want this arrangement to feel really full and have variety in tones, and just really, I guess fullness would be more than having a lot of negative space. I really want to do a lot of flowers that are closer together and really give you a good color punch. So that's my goal with this piece. This is just some structure that I've put in here to get started with. I have a couple other things that I might like to play with. I thought, I could go very peachy, but I could also add in some of these fuchsia tones. So I'm just taking a little bit of time to experiment and to play with you today and introduce you to these summer ingredients. I feel like even after designing for several years what ingredients to pair together is still something that I feel like you have to kind of keep jogging your memory about, well, what happens in summertime and what's happening at the same time. So I'm hoping that this series will be really helpful to many of you, regardless of where you are in your knowledge or in your work with flowers, to just become more familiar with the flowers that are available, or to refresh your memory to something that you maybe have known or tried at one time, but it's wintertime and you haven't seen these guys for a while, but you're planning for your summertime wedding. So I am, as opposed to going 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 with this very distinct placement pattern, I'm just layering blooms that are different colors and shapes. I'm just going to keep layering them on top of each other. And we've got this front started, so now I'm going to start working on the back to get everything back to a place of balance. I'm going to use these sweet ginger spray roses that I introduced you to from DB Flora. And we have the pink prana spray roses. We'll get layered in here as well. The important thing with this style of design, unless you are going for something that is truly very, very tailored and very compact, is that as you're adding flowers, that you're bringing some out just a little bit further than others. And you'll hear people talk about, you know, on different planes. Maybe you work with a photographer and they have different areas where they're focusing on based on the type of equipment, camera that they have. Some things make the arrangement look a little bit hazy. Let's look at this just real quick. Sorry, they make it a little, let me finish that thought. It will focus in on one flower that's a little bit further up, but on a plane that's back further, it will become a little bit blurrier. And so you'll notice that in some modern photography these days. And so whenever we have things that are all exactly on the same level that we can put our hand over top of that are very similar, it's going to create that more kind of tucked in, extremely tailored look. If we're wanting something that's more garden, we want to just adjust the layers so that, like in math class, how you would have all these planes or imaginary, you know, lines that were out there, that's what we want to focus on. These are different in color, but almost not quite different, and I want to create a little bit more depth. So I'm going to just rearrange these a little bit to do something with a little bit more, like if I use the ginger rose here instead of the prana, you can see how this lightness plays into the lightness right here, which creates a little bit more harmony in those two being together, versus if we take this one that I had in there originally and put it there. It doesn't draw out the very best quality of that rose. So that's what I'm thinking through, and that is what I'm going to shift out and use this ginger variety beside that one instead. I like how these two play together a little bit better. So let's do this 3D rose over here on the opposite side. And sink these prana sprays back more into the center. Peach shimmer. Now let's put in some of these pretty field grown gardens. And now, to keep it from getting real heavy here and to keep some shape and interest going up high, I'm going to add some of these big roses in up high to keep that sculpture headed upwards. And then let's go after some of these other ingredients like our lisianthus and get some more textures going in here. So the roses are mostly smooth to the touch. And if we get some in here that have some more ruffles, dimensions in their petals, it will add variety to the arrangement, create some more interest. That's the mood I'm going for. You can reflex the petals back. This is with an older rose. You shouldn't hear any crispy crunching whenever you reflex a rose. The petals should be nice and malleable. And they'll do this in nature. If you watch one bloom out the whole way on a bush, we just a lot of times have to get them cut and in the plane and on their way to us. So helping them along in that process a little bit is okay, I think. If you're a true purist and you don't want to, adjust the stem at all, I do feel like though that that is a very, it's not doing something crazy wonky that the flower wouldn't normally do in nature. If you've watched me teach before, you might hear me explain exactly why every stem got placed in a place. Kind of like I could tell you every single move and what I was doing. And right now I'm just a little bit more relaxed. I'm always still thinking though about where there's a spot that maybe isn't balanced or if colors are in competition with each other. Those are the decisions that are guiding where I'm placing things. But I have not, in this creative play zone, created a very more regimented placement pattern structure to teach this particular arrangement, like if we were going to replicate it, I guess you could say. Instead, today, I'm just keeping that general concept of balance in mind, front to back, back to front. And I could develop a placement pattern, like if I needed to teach this to a team of people to turn it into that product. I could do this a few more times and determine what the best way would be to explain to somebody to replicate it as quickly as possible to get that desired outcome so that I could increase my profit margins and keep growing with the business. So alright, these ruffles are very fun. Now you'll notice here when lisianthus lost its head, go in there and just clip that stem out. Make the flowers look as perfect as possible. Sometimes they need a little bit of help to come into their full beauty. You as the designer, you see what the potential is that could be there, and you help them blossom into the very best version of themselves. And that is what we can do with our friends and our family as well. We can always be looking for the very best qualities in them. And we can invite them to, with us, to say, hey, do you see an ugly little spot on me? What could I do to be more loving or more gracious with you? You can invite them to do just a simple little prune to help you make sure that you are looking at your best, and you can receive that. Of course, always do that with people that you feel safe with. I feel like that's an important part of our growth and development, to have that kind of feedback from each other. So just another way that the flowers can encourage us in life and in growth. And sometimes you might find a stem like this where it just, I don't know, the stem itself feels maybe just a little bit awkward, and you could maybe clip off this outer piece so that you have a large, a medium, a small, and this gradation in size just makes this one particular piece look even more beautiful. You can edit in that way as well. Again, this flower is Lysianthus. The Japanese have become really well known for kinds of different types of Lysianthus, these brown ones, and there's so many great varieties too that you can add to your garden or find at a local flower farm. This celosia I love. You'll notice that just even in the edges of its petals, it just has this little bit of peach, which is so sweet. And this is a flower that maybe I would use to take color out to the edges of an arrangement. But for this one, I'm going to use it to create a little bit of textured interest just deep in the arrangement, and to create like a canvas or a backdrop that you just catch that little bit of texture as your eye moves through the arrangement. Every flower that you use should have some kind of function and some kind of, reason that it's there. And so that's important whenever you're creating your flower orders, to be able to justify and know why you need to spend the money on that ingredient. If you have something that can serve the same purpose or function, then you're a little bit over budget on your order, oh, well, I can drop, that particular ingredient, or I can do half of the arrangements with that one and half of this other one over here, just to keep everything in check from a financial point of view. So again, I'm just tucking these in deep, and I'm making a little bit of just color that's moving from front to back in the arrangement. And we'll do one more. You'll notice too that I'm snipping at various levels in the stem, and it becomes, one stem becomes 3 stems. And, using each and every little bit of a flower is important for reducing the cost of creating the exact same piece. Okay, straw flower right here is where we put that first one in, just to see how the pieces were responding and they're interacting with each other. And so I think it'd be fun to add just a little bit more of those. I'm going to search through all the straw flower that I have and see which ones have the tone that plays nicely with just maybe the right amount of contrast or right amount of gradation for the spot that I would like to place it. So this one has a little bit more of the pink, and I think it looks really pretty with those Prana spray roses. Now I could stick to this. I could go with this palette, or I could add just, I think I can add a little bit of fuchsia and kind of like that blue, those blue undertones, and have this be really pretty as well. Just playing here to see. Straw flower is so fun how it interacts with the light, and it's a little bit glossy and makes a noise when you touch it. The ones that are, I think, closed more, I feel like they have a more elegant feeling, and then the ones where the centers are exposed, I feel like those feel a little bit more casual. So just keep that in mind too as you're thinking about the mood that you want to create with your pieces. See this one a little bit peachier that goes up against this peach shimmer spray, but it has a little bit of this darkness that pulls out this. Just wanting to place things where they're not competing with each other, but they're bringing out the best qualities in each other. So let's go with a little bit more of this blue in here and see how that affects the overall look and feeling of the design. This Scabiosa here I feel like is a nice anchor point for adding in some of this blue pink. This is a little side bud from some peonies that we had from the Alaska Peony Cooperative that came in last Friday. So these are now 8 days. And that's the fun thing about these buds is that you see when they do keep coming open and can be very useful. And Alaska is just known and becoming more and more known for some of the most fantastic peonies available at the prime times during wedding seasons throughout the year. So if you are having trouble sourcing some of those, don't forget about Alaska. Great customer service from Martha. We love them. They have been sending some beautiful blooms for Team Flower workshops for several years now, and we always enjoy working with their product and testing new varieties and things with them. If you are adding another color into your arrangement, you could just add a little bit on like one side. Like you wouldn't necessarily, have to incorporate. If you're just doing like, if your client says like, I just want a touch of, X, Y, Z, just by adding, even four little stems here of this blue, we've added that touch that was requested. Maybe you have a situation where some flowers didn't come in quite the way that you were planning and you do a little sub out, whatever. Just making sure that you have at least addressed to the very best of your ability some of their high priorities. Try to take the stress off of your original plan that it was going to be an explosion. Like if it was very important, you might need to just, update them, say, hey, I do have a little bit to go in each one, but it's not quite as heavy as we were, thinking of, whatever. And let them know. Maybe it's going to cost another, I don't know, $300 or something to get some more stuff shipped in. You could always give it to them as an option and say, we can try to have more stuff shipped. It's going to be this much more, but okay, a little bit of feather cracks. This is so sweet. And this has that slightly more purpley blue tone to it. So I'm placing this in. I think I am going to go after adding at least 3 sections on both sides and here in the back with it. But I could, if this was going to be more like the Scabiosa, I could just do like 1 or 2, like a pair of them at the top. The quantity is the amount that you need. Depend a lot on what your use of the arrangement is for them. Sometimes people say, well, how do I know how much to order? And my question back is, what are you trying to accomplish with that particular ingredient and piece? I like that. It's nice and balanced. I think I want to bring it through the center. You're in arrangement too, just to re-emphasize this little area where the peony is drawing the eye back. So I'm going to put one more little touch of purple there so that it moves through. I feel like very close to being done. I would be very happy with that. Just a final little check going around the rim of the container, and voila, that is a summer rose study with some other local ingredients popped in here. Hope you enjoyed it.